Hi, I'm going to talk to you about some different classroom technology and some apps that are really handy in tracking student behavior and connecting with parents or administrators. So the first is Class Dojo. This is an internet platform that connects all the different individuals that are involved in the student education, whether it's the parents, the students themselves, the teacher, or administrators. It's really user-friendly and it's free, which are huge pros. I think for busy teachers, being asked to learn a new platform can be difficult, especially if it's implemented in the middle of the year, and being asked to pay for something out of your own pocket or asking the administration to give you some money could be a barrier to use. But it's really easy to track student behavior using this platform. It comes in with a lot of built-in features, so it's easy to add students to a roster. Easy to invite parents to share information and be able to message each other on it. And it's also really easy to add your own categories for positive or negative feedback for the students. There are some built-in ones, but really easy to manage those if you have different parameters for what you expect in terms of procedures or norms in a classroom. It gives a great platform for the teacher to share videos, send messages, share photos, which I think a lot of parents in the modern world in education expect and want access to that sort of information for their students. I think one of the only cons is that it might create, or in my opinion, it might create an information overload where students and parents and teachers are constantly expected to give information, maybe when it's not even necessary, especially in the case of if the student's getting negative feedback. I could see parents, it's semi-impersonal, so I don't think it's a great stand-in or a replacement for actual student-teacher relationships and teacher-parent relationships. I think it could be a great gateway to start conversations or share basic information, but in terms of replacing, the traditional parent-teacher conference or a phone call home, I think it doesn't really convey the same relationship or build the same sort of relationship that you'd like to have with parents and teachers. I've actually used this platform in the past, but I think because of the nature of my school and some systems that were already in place, it wasn't very useful for me. I felt like it became a distraction at times with some of the in-class things that were happening, so it sort of took time away from actually giving feedback to the students when I was being more focused on giving feedback via Classroom Dojo. But I do think it could be a really useful platform if there's nothing else in place in your school or if the administration decides to use it. The next app is Too Noisy. It's an app for setting a volume limit in your class. The teachers get to choose the noise level, so you can adjust it based on what's happening in the classroom, which is really useful. There are free and paid versions, which sometimes is a little bit of a flag to me. I feel like they're eventually trying to get you to buy the version that they are selling, and the free one is just sort of a gateway to that happening. I actually have really mixed feelings about this app. I don't know how useful it might be in terms of replacing procedures or norms. I think it'd be a great support for them, but also I think some direct teacher feedback isn't a negative thing. Obviously, if you have a really noisy class, it could be useful so that you can avoid having to constantly shush students. But I think that constant check-in and that constant reminder of norms and procedures is actually a positive a positive aspect of a classroom for a student in learning to socialize and share a space without an app telling you to be quiet. I would imagine that for younger students this would be a great app. I work in a middle school and I could see my students feeling sort of infantilized by it in a roundabout way. Also, the app itself could become a distraction instead of feeling the room out and working with your peers to realize what's an appropriate volume level. Focusing on this app, this outside technology, could become a negative distraction in my opinion. Next is the Best Sam Timer. This is really similar to Online Stopwatch. That's a website that I regularly use. And I think it's really valuable in my classroom. I think the students respond to that sort of information really well. It keeps them on task, allows them a constant reminder to self-regulate in terms of where they need to be at in an assignment to complete it within the time given. It can also be a really great motivator for my middle school students, since we do a lot of games that are involved in being the quickest or finishing within a set amount of time, which I think provides an extra level of motivation and makes things fun to kind of gamify some things. And my last app is SmartSeat. I've never used this one, but I think I'm going to. It's an app that helps you take attendance, track who's offered answers, and change seating charts really easily. There are some basic features for taking notes on students. It doesn't appear that those are shareable, which I think is great for only the teacher to have some notes, but it definitely doesn't allow for any parental involvement. I think this is my favorite app since I teach really large groups of students, and definitely monitoring who's offered an answer or participated in an activity can be really challenging at times, especially since there are students sometimes who shy away from offering answers, while there are others who constantly want to be involved. So there's a random student selection, which I know can be a little negative in some ways if you have students who are low level, if you're choosing a student who's not really equipped to answer a question, or if they need more guided support. But I do think it can motivate teachers to get the entire classroom involved and help you track who has offered an answer, because the random selector is not going to choose the same student twice. Also, this app runs on a tablet or a smartphone, which I think is a huge advantage for me, since the PC at my desk, the screen, and the smartboard are usually utilized for PPTs or Prezis or other examples of assignments that we're working on, things that are helping the students. So for me to have an app that can run on my phone or a tablet that I have in the room that doesn't take away from the technology, that offers students some guidance, is really, really helpful. It's also great for taking attendance and rearranging your seating chart really easily. So I'm definitely going to use this app in my classroom in our next semester. So yeah, those are my 4 platforms or apps that I reviewed, and I hope you enjoy your new year.